Hey everyone, so about 4 years ago, I think a little more than 4 years ago maybe, I uploaded my Steven Universe Medley. It was the first Steven Universe video I ever made, and it's actually the #1 most streamed song of mine on Spotify. Since I made that first Steven Universe Medley, I've done a whole bunch of new Steven Universe covers, both from the show and from the movie and from Steven Universe Future, but I've never done a full-length version of any of the songs from that original medley, and I think one of them deserves a revisit.
Twice the gem that you are, I am made of love.
So today I want to take that original section of Stronger Than You and extend it into a full cover of the song. If you hear any weird noises coming from outside, it's because I got the windows open because it's a beautiful day out and it's already getting very warm in this room. I found the old Logic Pro file of the original Steven Universe Medley and I cut all of the tracks of everything except for just the Stronger Than You section. So now I'm left with this.
Go ahead and try and hit me if you're able. Can't you see that my relationship is stable? I can see you hate the way we intermingle, but I think you're just mad because you're single and you're not gonna...
So the very first thing I noticed looking at this was how few tracks I used. Like, I've got my string track, a piano track that looks like it's doubling exactly what the strings are playing. I've got this heavy synth sound that kind of is really the core of the energy of it all. I've got these two separate sounds layered to make the bass, and then I've only got 3 percussion tracks. This one is just this clap sound. This one is a snare sound and another clap sound, and this one... Wow. So this one is the kick drum and the cymbals all on the same track, which is nuts that I made that choice. I cannot imagine what I am blown away that I put the kick drum and the cymbals on the same track. Okay, and then I've also got a snare sound that doubles the kick drum, it looks like. See, moving down. So I layered 2 more synth sounds an octave apart. And that was everything except for my vocals. I knew that I was gonna frame it as like garnet in the center and ruby and sapphire left and right. And so that's how I formatted the backing vocals, which is the same thing I did in my recent Isn't It Love video with garnet in the center and ruby and sapphire off to the sides, because it's a great framing device.
Go ahead and try and hit me if you're able. Can't you see that my relationship is stable? I can see...
Wow, I used gold verb. I must have done this on like Logic 9 before I had upgraded to Logic X, because I have not used gold verb for my reverb in the longest time.
And will always be twice the gem that you are. I am made of love.
So yeah, that's every piece of it. That is illuminating, to say the least. Oh my goodness. This is gonna be fun. This is gonna be really interesting. I've got a... oh boy. I have to take these percussion elements. I gotta separate them all out onto different tracks. I can't believe that I put the snare, look at this, the snare, the kick drum, and hi-hat, and cymbals. They're all on one track. First things first, I gotta separate out all those drum parts, put them all on their own separate tracks, so that I can at least mix them and pan them and do all that fun stuff separately. I'm gonna play with the strings, play with all the other voices that I've got. Singing will probably come last. I just wanna figure out this instrumental. All right, so I just separated all of the drum tracks into specific individual instruments so that like all of the cymbals have their own track. And what I realized was that I had put them all on the same track because it was the Indie Live kit instrument on Logic 9. And I think I used that drum kit because it was an acoustic sound, like it sounds like someone playing a live drum kit. And I think I had been a little bit apprehensive to stray away from a live drum kit sound back when I made it in 2015, 2016. But this version definitely needs to move away from some of those live drum kit sounds and into some more electronic drum kit sounds. Right here, the first thing I've changed is the claps. I've still kept the original 2 clap sounds, but I also added a clap sample. Then I added a 4th clap sample, and this one I cut out so much of the low end that it sounds like this on its own. And I put that clap on the 2 and the 4 rather than just on the beat 4. All the claps now sound like this. Versus the original, which was just the first 2 claps. It definitely adds a lot of high end, and it's a better sound for the claps. So that original snare sound that I had playing on the 2 and the 4, I switched that out for a tom sound, and then I kept the tom fill over here. The hi-hat was another one that was originally in that indie live kit that sounded like a live drum kit, and I swapped that sound for this sound. It definitely sounds more appropriate for sort of an electronic arrangement of Stronger Than You. With the cymbals, which had also been on the same track as the hi-hats and as the kick drum, I went back and listened to the original Estelle version of Stronger Than You, and on the of, the cymbals were like ksh, ksh, ksh. They were panned left and right. There was like a center cymbal and then a left cymbal and a right cymbal. So I split that into 3 cymbal tracks. I've got a cymbal sample. This one's center, and then this one's panned left, and this one's panned right a little bit. They're not hard panned full left and right, but they're a little left and right. That sounds like this now. That panning already gives it a lot more life, and I also, on those, cut a lot of the low end out so that it's again a lot more of a sizzly high end sound. And then I layered those samples with a MIDI cymbal that I have. I cut out a lot of the low end, which I hadn't done in the original version because it was on the same track as the kick drum. I'm never gonna get over that. So now with all that on these cymbals together, they sound like this. Then the last thing I did was change the kick drum, and again, just like the other ones, it was originally like a kick drum in a drum kit. I changed that into a much boomier, bassier electronic kick. On the part where I had like layered that tom with the kick drum, I switched that sound out with a different kick that I again did a little bit of a high pass. It's just a different kick texture that has a lot more high end in it anyway, and those together sound like this. So after all of that, it's funny to compare them because already it sounds worlds different. Here's the original 3-voice percussion section with only 3 tracks. And this is the updated one. Next thing I want to do is same process, but with these sounds up here. And it is doubled with the piano track here. I don't think I need the piano track at all. I think I kept it in so that it felt like a more consistent through line, since the song right before this in the medley was Strong in the Real Way, which is very piano ballady. So to kind of bridge the style gap, that's probably why I put this piano in here doubling the strings, but I don't need it. And I do not like that string sound. So what I'm gonna do, duplicate this track, put it down here. This one, I am going to change the instrument. I'm gonna go to one of my favorite strings that I've been using a lot recently, which is the Spitfire Labs long strings. I'm pretty sure you can still get this for free. Spitfire Labs has a whole bunch of cool instruments that you can download for free, and this is one of them. Like, it already sounds so much better than the previous strings. Now, I don't want all these low, like, cello string voices, because I think the strings should also be kind of a mid-high range part of the mix. I'll probably cut these. How does that sound? If I get rid of a lot of those low cello-y sort of strings, I think that'll make the mix sound a lot less muddy, and it'll leave a lot of room for just the bass, the synth bass that is going to be going in that part of the mix, in that range. So I went back and listened to the original Estelle version of Stronger Than You, and I realized that the strings, like the kind of like legato strings, don't really come in right on the downbeat of the "go ahead and try and hit me if you're able." So I cut that from that section. So right now I've got the strings now coming in on the "you're not gonna stop what we made together" right here. Made together, we are gonna stay like this forever. And then I added a second layer of new strings, because when you get to the "I am made of," the Spitfire audio strings that I love, they have a pretty slow attack. They don't come in immediately, and this part is super punchy. So I layered in another layer of strings, which is a different string voice that I'm pretty sure Logic Pro just has in it. That one is a little less reverby and a little faster on the attack, so layered together they sound like this. And on both of these strings I did again take out the low end, because even though I got rid of some of those lowest notes, just really got to do a little more of a high pass filter on these strings. I think that sounds a lot better than the original strings. They're just kind of like wah, 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 wah. Versus, it just sounds so much more right for the song. I feel like it's going to add so much more energy to the final mix of the new and improved version of this song. And I wanted there to be a little bit more of like a punch on the first of each of those. So I found this voice, this xylophone synth. It's like echoey. It has like a hard hit at the beginning, and then it just kind of echoes. So that added onto the strings sounds like this. Editing Jacob here. So for whatever reason, the camera audio cut out during this next section, so I lost all of my speaking. But basically here I was playing with the dancey octave synth. I was messing with the EQ, getting rid of some of the lowest notes, and then I duplicated the dancey octave and started listening through a bunch of other synth sounds, kind of shopping around for another synth to layer on top of the dancey octave to sort of make the sound texture a little more complex. And after searching for a while, this is what I found. So I found this organ sound that sounds like this. I cut out a lot of the low end so you can see there. And then I also added some distortion to it, just to give it some crunch. And then I also took the dancey octave, the original dancey octave. I cut off a lot more of the low end, as is the pattern so far, making it a lot more sizzly. And speaking of sizzle, I also added an exciter to the dancey octave that, again, just adds some of that kss. So now the dancey octave on its own sounds like this. And with the organ on top of it, which I think will take up a lot less room in the mix and make this instrument a little bit less of the focal point. In the original version, I found that dancey octave and I was just like, yes, this synth sounds so thick, it sounds so great, and I'm gonna use it for everything. And so it was really super present in the mix. Let's hear that with the strings and with all of the percussion that I've added. But let me change the key back. Now it all sounds like this. A lot of the low end has been taken out of that right now. I've taken low end out of all of the synths and the strings and everything, but I think that'll be a good way to make room and introduce some very clear, strong synth basses that I'll be working on next. Alright, so I took a little bit of a break. You can probably tell from the amount of light in the window now, but I took a break to eat and I listened to the original Estelle version a little more. The bass in the original Estelle version it's so much like grittier, whereas the version that I made is very like boom, boom. The goal for this cover isn't to like sound exactly like the original TV Steven Universe version, but right now I'm trying to definitely evoke that sound. Then as I get further into mixing and playing around and arranging, I'll make choices to deviate into a certain style or to stick closer to what the original is. Right now, I'm going to get rid of all of this bass line except for this section. Split, get rid of that, get rid of that. I'm gonna create an entirely new bass line for this section. And then also for this section. So here's the new bass line that I made, very similar to the original Estelle version of the song. This instrument, this was a Helm synth. It was pretty similar to one of the original presets, and then I fiddled with it just a little bit to get it where I wanted, and I added an exciter to get this sound. To fill out some more of that bass sound, I layered it with another bass synth that sounds like this on its own. Still has a pretty hard hit, but it definitely fills out a lot of that low range. And together they sound like this. For that middle section where I'm keeping the other bass line, I'm probably just soften it, going to only keep one of these bass lines. You know what I should do right now that I've done that? I'm going to transpose it back to the key that I'll be singing it in, so that we can really hear what these notes are supposed to sound like. It all sounds like this. Compare that to what I started with this afternoon. I'm really excited with the progress of this. The next step is to take these instruments and extend them into the full cover, then figure out what new instruments need to be added, what little effects need to be added, and then record the vocals, and that is my game plan. That's my next step. Let's keep going. Alright, so it's been a few days. I've done a lot of work on the audio. I've extended all the sections and I recorded entirely new vocals for the whole thing. There are some spots where I've been playing around with some new different ideas, different from the original version, and one of them is right at the beginning. I replaced the Garnet rap at the beginning with a sort of robotic sounding 3-part harmony, and that sounds like this.
This is Garnet, back together. And I'm never going down at the hands of the likes of you because I'm so much better.
I also added this sidechain vocal effect in the second verse, so this is kind of in the background, where the lead vocal is like,
I won't let you hurt my planet, and I won't let you hurt my friends.
You might have also noticed that I changed the chord progression there as well, just to give it a little more build into that next chorus. And yeah, I added a whole bunch of other little percussion things in, little transition stuff, sprinkled it all with a whole bunch of little musical goodies, and now the only thing I have left to do is film the music video. One more time before I move on to the video, I just want to do one more like comparison from before and after, because it truly is ridiculous to hear how different the original version from 4 years ago, my original version, sounds from what it has become.
Go ahead and try and hit me if you're able. Can't you see that my relationship is stable? I can see you hate the way we intermingle, but I think you're just mad cause you're single and you're not gonna stop.
The original one I filmed outdoors in front of this gray cement wall, and this time I'm gonna film it in front of a green screen and hopefully add a lot more like color and visual interest to it. So that's what I'm gonna do next, but you get to skip right to watching the final video.
This is Garnet, back together. And I'm never going down at the hands of the likes of you because I'm so much better. And every part of me is saying go get her. The two of us ain't gonna follow your rules. Come at me without any of your fancy tools. Let's go, just me and you. Let's go, just 1 on 2. Go ahead and try and hit me if you're able. Can't you see that my relationship is stable? I can see you hate the way we intermingle, but I think you're just mad cause you're single and you're not gonna stop what we made together. We are gonna stay like this forever. If you break us apart, we'll just come back newer, and we'll always be twice the gem that you are. This is who we are, this is who I am. And if you think you can stop me, then you need to think again. Because I am a feeling, and I will never end. And I won't let you hurt my planet, and I won't let you hurt my friends. Go ahead and try and hit me if you're able. Can't you see that my relationship is stable? I know you think I'm not something you're afraid of, cause you think that you've seen what I'm made of. But I am even more than the two of them. Everything they care about is what I am. I am their fury, I am their patience, I am a conversation. I am made of love, and it's stronger than you. Love, and it's stronger than you. Love, and it's stronger than you.
Thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked the video. Let me know what you thought of it in the comments. Let me know if you want to see more extended videos like this, breaking down sort of my process. As always, a huge thank you to my patrons on Patreon. If you're a patron, you can get early access to my videos, free MP3s, you can get your name at the end of my videos, a whole bunch of other cool stuff. My patrons are the reason I'm able to make videos like this, so thank you so much. If you want to become a patron, you can check the link in my description, patreon.com/JacobSutherland. This cover, this version of Stronger Than You, is also available to stream on Spotify and to purchase on all the online stores, so check that out. Stream it and add it to your playlists. Subscribe to this channel to see more videos like this, more songs from cartoons, and more songs from Steven Universe. I've still got a lot that I can cover. Let me know what you want to see next, and until my next video, I hope you have a great day. Goodbye!